It's the blue button.
Okay, go.
Welcome to Katy Social, everything Fulshear, Richmond, Texas. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're getting 1,500 to 2,000 views weekly. Today we have Bryson with BICC Approved AC. With the summer that we've had, I think August started in June of this year, and it's still going on. So I'm sure there's a lot of different stuff that you could talk about in the AC world. Could you tell us when you started your business?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks, Richard, for having me on your podcast. That's awesome. To answer your question, we started our business in 2017.
Okay, that's the same year I launched Realty.
Oh, awesome! Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So that means we've both been doing our thing for 6 years now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I actually opened right before Harvey hit.
Oh, wow.
So I got about a month running, and boom, the whole city shut down for about 3 months with one of the greatest floods we've ever seen here, and I had no work.
1,000-year flood.
Yeah.
In our neck of the woods, I can tell you we got 62 inches of rain in 48 hours.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it was pretty scary, but here we are 6 years later, still killing it. So.
Did you flood by chance?
I did not. No.
I didn't either.
I was on Highland and Katy, so yeah, great. I mean, for me, but. Yeah. What we did do, we ran around and did some rescues. We pulled out some people from the flood, and we pulled out some animals from the flood, and did what we could during that time to help people out.
It's amazing how the whole city and people from other states came over here and all banded together to work through that, because there was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of homes that got decimated.
Yeah, it was definitely a different experience for sure.
We did muck outs and stuff like that. And all the furniture in my house that we weren't using, we donated to families that lost everything, so that they had beds and stuff that they could sleep on.
Right, yeah, everybody band together and try to pull through that. And then luckily after that, we had a home and garden show, which was extremely popular after that because so many people's homes were damaged and they needed contractors and stuff to rebuild.
Oh, sure.
And so that got me rolling.
Yeah.
And then 2018 came around and it was a much better year. But I feel like we've survived every once in a lifetime disaster possible at this point, and I hope there's no more. So.
Yeah, we've had some freezes. We've had all kinds of crazy stuff.
It's a crazy world these days.
So, you don't like the weather in Houston, just wait a minute. I promise it will change.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, that's how we got started and when we got started, and we've been serving Katy and the surrounding areas. I'd say our hotspots are Katy, Fulshear, Richmond, and probably Cypress, but we do go down to West Houston. But I've got customers all the way out in Dickinson and all the way out in Conroe as well.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So it's quite a large territory. I mean, we don't try to advertise out there, but just knowing people in the area, and if they're willing to wait for someone they can trust, they're going to do it.
In your industry, and I run into this all the time with inspections and different inspectors and AC companies. It's a challenge because unfortunately, kind of like the roofing industry, they want to sell a whole system or sell a whole roof versus fixing it when you might be able to get another 5 to 7 years out of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this year, so before I opened my business, I was a selling machine. You can put me in just about any company, and I'd be in the top 3 in sales.
That's awesome.
It's just a knack I have. I've been doing some sort of sales since I was probably in the 6th grade. So it comes natural to me, but I'm more of a persuasive person more than a manipulative person. Some people have a bad thing about sales, but I'm probably the closest thing to an honest sales guy. They say it doesn't exist, but I can't see lying to someone to make a sale. It's not that important to me.
I can't do it either. I can't sales my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, if it makes sense, let's move forward. If it doesn't make
Right.
sense, I'm going to tell you.
Right.
And then, but at least and you can make the decision if you want to do it or not.
Absolutely, yeah. So, So, but service, as far as service goes, I try to offer everyone a repair option, even if I'm sure that they'd be better off with the new system. I'll give them both options. And the main thing that I really try to push is that the client should be informed. You know, as long as the clients make an informed decision, and you know they're gonna make the decision that's best for them and their budget.
Sure.
So you know we do run up on times when you know I've done everything I can to fix it and it's just not going to be fixed. Yeah.
Right.
So in fact that's happened a couple of times this week specifically where I exhausted myself trying to repair it, and it just you know you gotta put the nail in the coffin and replace it. So
Sometimes you're putting good time and good money at bad stuff, unfortunately.
yeah. Yeah, one of the deals, you know, with some folks still have R22, and you know, I don't.
Me included. We just went through that.
Yeah, I don't. You know, we don't even carry that stuff anymore. So, you may find somebody
People may not know what R22 is, so you might want to explain that.
Okay, R22 is Freon. So, pretty much everybody knows Freon. Now we're on to 410A Puron, but we still call it Freon.
Puron. Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
See, well, exactly. And most
Okay.
people don't. They still refer to it as Freon, but Freon is actually R22. R22 is Freon.
Okay.
So they're all refrigerants. There's different refrigerants. So there's some of them are blends, some of them are pure. Like R22 is one ingredient. You know?
Okay.
So when you get to the 410A, it's a blend of different ingredients, and one of the reasons it skyrocketed is because one of the core ingredients was coming from China.
Really?
Yeah, so now it's shot up as well, but it's not near as expensive as the Freon. So we don't carry the Freon anymore, and in the next couple of years they're going to start changing it again. So that ride we went on trying to switch everyone from R22 to R410A is about to be over, and we're going to be switching to another again. But this time it's going to be even worse because different manufacturers are using different blends, but the primary ingredient, I believe, is propane.
Really?
Yes. So they all using the same primary ingredient, but then
It's
they
going to
have
be
different.
manufacturer specific.
Right. So it's going to turn out to where I've got to carry multiple refrigerants on my truck just to be able to service those new systems that are coming in the pipeline. So it'll be fun. It's you know, good old EPA making our lives difficult. So
You know, regulation, it's a love-hate relationship.
yeah.
Part of me understands it, and the other part of me doesn't understand it. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to ask millions of people to just up and just change. You know,
well, it's
So,
expensive.
It's expensive. It's not.
I think
It's
the
not
roof is
something-
probably the most expensive thing on maintaining your house, and I would say that the HVAC system comes in number 2.
Yeah, and maybe the foundation too, right?
Well,
But,
yeah.
those three things. Yeah. And then you got water heaters. Those aren't as bad, but if you got to repipe your house or something, that's pretty difficult.
If you have broken
but-
sewer line under the
Oh
foundation.
yeah, that's really bad.
That's
right
not
there.
good.
That's not good. So, but yes, you're right. I would say HVAC is the most frequent one out of the ones. I mean, a roof you get 20, 30 years unless you get a hailstorm or something or
Right.
wind damage or something. But
And you can use an insurance claim for that, but
exactly,
insurance claim on HVAC, that's few and far between.
few and far in between. But if you read your policy or if you know what to look for when writing the policy, there are some insurance companies that will cover your air conditioning.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have many people that have come to me with that,
Okay.
but I have had some. And
Learn something else to that.
well, yeah, I mean, so basically, you know, they do the repair, they pay for it, and then they get reimbursement from the insurance company, and they usually just ask a little help from me, like a detailed invoice of what happened, what they had to do.
So it's homeowner's insurance, not a
Homeowner's
home warranty.
Exactly. It's not a home warranty, it's homeowner's insurance,
Wow.
and you might want to look at your policy because you might have coverage.
That's
And
great insight. Or to explore to see what it
to
costs.
explore to see what it costs to add
Exactly.
anything. Yeah. Like I said, I don't come across it often where someone has that policy
I don't
or
think anybody knows.
nobody knows, and that's what I
Right.
think that the thing is. I don't think many people realize that that's part of their policy. So, and it may not be, but it's worth looking into.
Sure.
Yeah, I would suggest if you're going to look into it before your air conditioner breaks. You know.
What's some of the common things that you see in our local market with air conditioners?
Drain line issues is probably one of the biggest problems, and
is that due to the humidity that we have here, or?
Well, I mean, all the air conditioner does is remove humidity, right? So we pull the water out of the air to make you comfortable, and it has to go down a drain line, and they get nasty. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how moisture from the air turns into gunk. I don't know exactly how that happens, but it happens, and it happens every day.
Algae / bacteria, whatever.
Yeah, slime. I don't know how it does it, but sometimes if there's a leak in the coil, that's pretty obvious because it has a mixture of water and oil, and I can understand that one. But I mean, just everyday perfectly working air conditioners can get clogged. So we see that a lot. It's my least favorite thing to do in the business. I'll say that. Because it's gross and sometimes it stinks, and
I try to pour bleach down the lines is what I do at my house.
Yeah, I mean that's a what do you call those old wives' tales or something? But they actually make a strip that I can put inside the evaporator coil that's non-corrosive.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
And every time the water condensates, it activates the strip, and the chemical is released going down the drain line, helping prevent clogs. So we could do that. Some people,
I've never heard of that either.
Yeah, they're not expensive either. I mean, I think we charge like $49 for a strip.
Okay.
And if you're on our routine maintenance plan, which that's pretty much, our bread and butter there is we are more interested in your long-term relationship by being on a maintenance plan and taking care of you throughout the years for all of your needs, not just get the replacement. And that's kind of what you were talking about earlier, and that's kind of what sets us apart, is that we actually care about you, and we want to do what's right for you. We want to take care of it for 10 to 13 years and then get the replacement.
And if you're coming out and inspecting it before the heat in the summer months hit,
right,
you can catch something.
Some things I can catch, absolutely. Like we run tests on capacitors, and most people don't know that you can have a working capacitor that is considered failed because the manufacturer has a rating on it that it can only be within this range of its
for tolerance purposes.
Yeah. So if it's beyond that, we fail it, and you should technically replace it. So before it crashes, because
right.
when you allow it to fail, you're putting a strain on your compressor, or you're putting a strain on your fan motor. Those are the two things that a capacitor pretty much operates like a battery in some ways, right? So, so when those things are out of whack, you're putting a bigger strain on the system itself, which could lead to a larger failure. So it's those little things.
And accelerate the failure faster than if you would been proactive about it.
Exactly. Yeah. So those little things. But yeah, that's. I mean, those strips is what we were talking about. I think we got a little off topic, but those strips you can throw them in the coil in the primary pan, and that's where the water gathers and it activates the strip. And that helps, but you got to make sure it's clean too. I mean, so once it's been cleaned, that's usually the best time to add that strip. Rather than trying to let the strip do all the work.
Sure.
Just do the hard stuff first, and then put the strip as preventative.
Put it in a sterile environment.
You change it twice a year, and then you're good to go. They last about 6 months.
What about black lights and HEPA filters? What's your thoughts on that? Because I see those in higher end homes.
Okay. Well, the HEPA is basically hospital quality air. Okay. I haven't installed a lot of HEPAs. There's been some installed. They're expensive. Usually when we do that, it's someone with an extreme medical problem.
Or allergies.
Well, yeah, but allergies we combat a little different because usually our issue with allergies is dust. So some people talk about UV lights, which you mentioned, or you may have called it a black light, but it's a UV light. But you got to be careful with the terminology because a UV light has a specific purpose and it does nothing for your allergies. So basically, a UV light is supposed to sanitize the evaporator coil so mildew doesn't grow on the coil itself to help keep the coil clean and efficient. Okay? So it puts out a halo and it can only sterilize what's in contact with that halo. Okay? So then you have an air purifier which goes after the evaporator coil and it actually flows through the airstream, and that's where we're combating allergies because that's killing in the air and on the surface the molds, the mildews, the bacteria, the viruses, the odors, cooking,
which is all naturally in the air.
Right. It's all, yeah, our homes are actually more polluted than outdoors today because they've made these efficient homes. So
They're so tight.
They're airtight. And so what they're doing is they're putting in fresh air intakes, right? So they bring in air from the outside, and some people have those. They don't even check them, and they're running like 40 minutes per hour, and so it's wide open, and you're just bringing in all the humidity. In my opinion, I mean, I know that we have to have something, but in my professional opinion, an air purifier is a much better choice than bringing in hot, humid air. You know,
that's what you're trying to combat is
the hot.
You're right.
Yeah, so to me, it's you know, and then like I said, it has a knob or a thermostat in some
timer
cases,
or whatever.
Yeah, where you can regulate how many minutes per hour. I usually, if they have them, I crank them way down to like 5 minutes an hour.
Okay. So just very
little, bare minimum. And I always
just to remove the stuffiness from the home.
my reviews, you'll see that the most passionate reviews come from those folks who I've installed
The air
the air
purifier.
purifier. Yeah, I mean, I get lots of nice reviews, right?
Sure.
But the ones where
That's the most impact. Though.
it seems to have the most impact because it helps people a lot, and you know, they are pricey, and that's the other thing that you can get
Is it
mixed up.
mechanical? Is it? I mean, I'm just.
Well, it's a light.
It is a light. Okay.
But it's in like a honeycomb ballast, and it creates the light and the honeycomb create this. It's almost like hydrogen peroxide. Almost.
Okay.
And that's what flows and
So it scrubs the air, sort of.
It's literally called an air scrubber.
Okay.
So that the brand that I use is an air scrubber. One of the more popular ones is that one, and then the Remy Halo. But during the pandemic, I learned that the Remy Halo was being made in China, and they were gone. They didn't exist.
Supply chain
Just gone. And so you couldn't get parts for it and stuff like that. I knew they worked, but I never paid attention to where they were being manufactured. And the air scrubber is actually manufactured in the United States. And I try to use made in America products.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I try. There's always going to be something that you can't control. You can't find everything, but some of the more stuff I prefer made in America. So that's what I try. So now we're using the air scrubber rather than the Remy Halo. But the Remy Halo does work if anyone. If you have more than one unit, you need more than one air scrubber.
Right.
So It just depends on how many units you have in the home.
What's the average cost for one of those?
Well,
I'm trying to hold you, Danny. I'm just trying to get a baseline.
I don't have, we have flat rates. I mean, I charge $13.95 retail.
Okay.
My maintenance members get discounts. They get 10% off on that.
Okay.
And if they have a repair, they get 20% off. And if they're replacing equipment, they get 5% off. So those are some of the perks along with service fees
That's
being
huge.
waived. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we really try to incentivize our clients to join the maintenance and be our long-term clients, and we offer these perks for them, so that,
I've always been a big fan of having the system checked twice a year.
Yeah.
I've always done it before summer hits for the AC and then before winter hits for the heater,
right.
because you never know. And
Right.
then you turn it on, it's broken.
Yep.
So,
And the other thing is, you mentioned the heater. We're coming up into heat season, and the thing with it's a lot of people don't think they need to check their heater. Like, we don't even hardly use it. And
that's the problem.
I can understand that is the problem, and you don't know what's going on with it. And the number one cause for a house fire is a gas furnace. And in Houston, most of us,
The
not all,
majority
are all gas. So you need to have us come in there and do a safety inspection. That's pretty much what we do. We're gonna check it, and then we're gonna check for gas leaks and carbon monoxide are the two main ones, right? We don't want nobody to get hurt. But then we're gonna check functionality because they don't always fire up. They get clogged. There's a sequence of operation that has to happen safety wise in order for that gas furnace to fire up. And a lot of times you haven't ran it so long, it gets clogged up. One of those sequences doesn't operate and it won't fire. So then on that cold freeze, everybody's calling because, oh my goodness,
The furnace won't turn on.
And it's something really simple that we do as part of the maintenance to make sure that we don't charge extra for that. We just clean it because we know it gets
But now you're
clogged.
doing emergency fire drill calls.
Yeah, that's different. That's not the same thing as maintenance.
Right.
Now I have to bill you for coming out on an emergency, and that's totally different. But if you were on the maintenance plan, no
You
problem.
swing by, you look at it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's going to be cold in 30 days. You're A-okay.
Exactly.
We'll see you next year on this.
Exactly. So yeah, but that's good because most people think that they don't use it as much, so they don't really need to have it checked. And it's like, well, you probably do. On electric heat, it's not so much, but you have things that could fail there too. But not as many safety issues with that one.
Sure.
But
And air conditioning is important down here. Gosh, we've had 90 days at 100 plus.
yeah, it was pretty insane
Or-
this summer.
I mean, when the cold front was 99,
Yeah.
we still had heat index pushing 105 to 120 some days.
Exactly. It's been a very hot summer, and we ran a lot of calls this year.
I bet you did.
A lot. So yeah, it was good for us. Everybody was waiting for the rain, but the rain kind of turns off the spigot for a little bit,
Yeah.
So we needed the rain, but for business, it's not so great.
Well, and those ACs, I mean, they just run nonstop. If you have it set at 70 degrees and it's 120 outside, you're talking 50-degree differential.
Yeah, on average, they're designed for 20 degrees below ambient. So sometimes we have to have hard discussions with our clients that, hey, it's just not going to do this. Like you just can't achieve this temperature in this home. And I think some people get confused because some homes are built better than others.
Right.
And they're like, well, I went to this house or I lived in this house and, I could do this. And it's like, okay, well, was it 115 outside? And, how new was the house?
Right.
What kind of insulation did it have? And double pane window, all these things make a difference. So,
Vinyl windows. I mean, there's all kinds of. Every 2 years in home building, they just get more and more efficient.
right.
They do.
And the air conditioners get smaller. And that's another thing is that some of these people come in there and they'll see the size of the house and they'll automatically tell them, your air conditioner is too small. You need a bigger one. But if you go bigger, you end up short cycling and you're not removing humidity. You can actually be more miserable. And have
you can
a
get
lot
black
more.
mold
You
and
can get
stuff.
all kinds of. It gets real crazy. So be careful of those people who say, now look, are there undersized units? Yes.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, there is. I mean, you know, I've seen two of the same, you know, all houses and neighborhoods are cookie cutters. It's nothing unique. So
They built a handful of different homes. They just
Right.
make them look a little different on the outside.
right. So same floor plan, same neighborhood, houses are two different locations.
Yeah.
Same air conditioning, everything. One cools just fine, and the other can't keep up.
That's
You know,
odd.
Well, you know why? It's because the other one, where the windows were, facing west. So it was getting more heat load than the other one.
So from 2 o'clock on, the hardest
Yeah.
part of the day,
That one struggles.
it's just
It struggles.
Beating.
And so it's about, you know, a half ton shy because of the rotation of the house. See, it's the same floor plan, same unit, so they just said it needs this, but they didn't do a heat load
which an
calculation.
engineer that engineered that AC for that floor
Right.
plan.
For that floor plan, not thinking, you know, if we face it this way, we're going to need a little more.
Sure.
So there can be situations where you have undersized units, but a lot of times people don't, and they're being told. I've seen it. They're being told it's too small. They need a bigger one, and they don't, and they're gonna, you know, if they fall for something like that, you know. But you need to pay attention to how your thermostat manages the temperature. But if you're trying to maintain 70 in extreme weather, that's not really a good gauge because technically you're not supposed to be able to do that anyway.
Right.
So if you try to build an air conditioner for that heat, then when it's a normal year, it's oversized and it's short cycling, and you've got other problems. So you don't want to design to the extreme.
Question. Do you do like duct cleaning and stuff as well? And I'm just
No, it's a great
Funny.
question. We offer that service.
okay.
So I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather you go back to the air scrubber. That will keep your ducts clean. If your ducts have never been cleaned, maybe it's a good idea to clean them before you install the air scrubber to keep them clean. But with the flexible duct these days, you know, I always fear of tears.
Right.
You know, damaging the duct by whipping it, you know, and it can happen, and it can actually make it worse. So there's a lot of scams out there. You know, $100 to clean all your ducts. They're not cleaning your ducts. Don't fall for that scam. It doesn't cost $100. I promise. It costs more.
To do it correctly.
To do it properly.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you're okay with me attaching a vacuum to this duct and that duct and leaving for 30 minutes and then coming back and saying your duct system is clean, I'll take that $100. You know, but that's.
But you wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't.
You're not doing it
Yeah,
correctly.
I'm not. It's not proper. I mean, you actually go up there and brush and vacuum every single duct. Now you're cleaning the ducts.
And then you got to reseal all that stuff once you're done, because you opened up the duct work, right?
Right. Well, I mean, just mostly you're just taking the grill off
Okay.
and just running it up. You're not like disconnecting all the ducts and stuff like that. But you know, each run. But no, you know, I've seen people clean ducts and make a huge mess, and you know, it's. But I had enough people ask me for that service
And you offer it now.
that now I offer it. So we've been doing it for probably a year or two now.
Okay.
But in the beginning, I just refused.
Yeah.
I was like, no, we don't want to do that. But I was just giving the lead to someone else in that situation, and I finally said, well, there's just too many. You can't. Once someone has it in their head, you can't. Sometimes you can't. You can walk away from the money, but if that's what they want, that's what they want. You know, they know the risk.
That makes them happy.
Yeah. So, and it does make a difference. We've cleaned ducts and people have really been happy. Like,
Okay.
I breathe so much better, you know. So, you know, if they had stuff growing, but then that's when, okay, you should put this air scrubber in to keep it that way.
Right. So now you don't
have to
yeah.
clean the ducts. Yeah. Once you put that in there, it's flowing through the ducts. It's going to keep those ducts clean, you know. And you have less dust in the house as well because it energizes the air and it makes the small particles clump together, making one larger particle, and then the filter can actually catch it. so it actually reduces dust in the home and in the ductwork. So,
Oh, wow.
really good.
What about multi-zones in air conditioning?
They
I
have-
had a problem with it myself personally, and I ended up, because they replaced it one time, and then not sure, long after, it failed again, so I just had them leave the flap wide open.
yeah.
What's your thoughts?
That's when you have one air conditioner and it's zoned, which means you have maybe at least 2, if not 3 thermostats controlling one air conditioner. You can operate in only the same mode, so it has to be all in cool or all in heat. You can't
Right.
do both because you can't cool the house that you're heating. So having a zone system is a luxury. It's not necessarily, and most of the time it's done wrong. So they put a zone system on a single stage air conditioner, and then if they don't install the proper dump, which is where the air recycles back to the intake, it can cause a lot of problems. And you have static pressure issues, which can lead to failures of the equipment. And then you also have the motorized dampers that can fail as well. Personally, I mean, they're there. People like them. They don't want to give them up. So I fix them, right? But they do get stuck. They rust. You know, the motors, they're motors. So there's a little motor on it. They fail.
It's a flap that opens.
And yes, it's a damper. So it literally like opens and closes to stop airflow from going through that duct. And that there's a motor that opens or closes it. It's either normally open or it's either power open or power closed, one of the two. It just depends on how you wire it. But those motors can fail, and then your zone doesn't work, and then this area of the home's hot. And sometimes you can give it a little tap and it opens up because it's just stuck. And sometimes the motor fails completely, and it can be a nuisance. For me, if I were doing it in my own home, I would only do it on a variable speed air conditioning system, because then you have, instead of motorized dampers, you have modulating dampers that literally kind of open and close based on static pressure versus all the way open or all the way closed. So it can essentially crack a little bit to allow some airflow to reduce the static, and that's a properly zoned deal, because the variable speed air handler actually slows down and speeds up as well, and it's all about static pressure at the end of the day. So zoning a single stage system is not real healthy for the air conditioner, but you get 2-story homes, and it is a very nice luxury to have, but the results are depends.
Sure.
Right? So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Yeah, the variable speed with the modular dampers are hands down better than a single speed air conditioning with mechanical dampers.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a better product.
Okay.
So, but comes with a price tag, right? So
Sure.
luxury, right? And most people don't realize that we live in luxury. Like, all these air conditioners are luxury. They didn't used to have them. So luxury is expensive, right? But you want to know somebody who's knowledgeable on what they're talking to you about, and making sure that they're designing it properly and installing it properly, and then you shouldn't have many issues.
Installation is huge.
Installation is the most important part.
It is.
So,
Well, we covered a lot of ground in AC today.
Hey.
I want to thank Chris for coming out with BICC approved. If they want to reach out, connect with you, and if they have any AC questions or need to have service calls or get on your maintenance program,
absolutely.
what's the best way for them to connect with your company, Chris?
You can always go to our website, BICCapproved.com. That's with BICC, 2 C's in that. Or you can give us a call at 832-427-6903. And Daryl manages that phone, and she will love to hear from you, and she can get you set up for an appointment. She can even take your payment over the phone, get you on that program right away. We're going to start our fall maintenances in a few weeks.
Okay.
We're going to start running maintenance, I think, October 15th. I know it's going to be a little warm outside still, but if I don't start in October, I'll never get them finished.
Yeah, you fall behind.
I'll fall
And I
behind.
can speak personally that Chris has done work one of our properties for our family. Very punctual on time, very cost effective, great job, follow up, everything. So I highly endorse him. And if you would, just give him a call. He'd love to help you and your family out. And he's a local tradesman that knows his stuff, and he's here to help.
Thank you, Richard.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, guys.